Why, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Voice of the Rings. I am your host and guide, Zollin Ironshield, and today we're going to do a quick little fast information on the new Tactician Fort for RiseToWar. It has been out for a little while, but now that I've used it a little bit and kind of understand how it works, I'm going to give you a quick guide video on it and describe it to you, okay? So again, it's a really cool new feature. It definitely helps with the fact that the new game 2.0 kind of forces you to go along these new paths, right? And travel in the way you walk in the game. So if we just bring up the map real quick, and you remember you see now there's all these little paths and little crossings all over, and that's where your people have to travel. Well, it can be a little frustrating when you're trying to always get to the front line, or maybe there's not room for your base. So a big one is when you first move your base, it's a 9x9 square. What do I mean by 9x9 for our brand new players is these little single squares. These are all little squares, right? There are some tiles that are bigger, right? Like 200 tiles or 230 or on, like they're a big 4x4 single tile. You do need them for certain things, but without getting too confusing, normally you would collect 9 of these in a square, in a grouping, right? And then you could move your base, right? Now this is not me, this is somebody else. But if you wanted to move, then you'd have to put 9 there and then build a temporary base, and then you could move your main base. Well, something that's always a little frustrating about that is that you cannot build it touching to any obstacles or other people's bases. Okay, so what does that mean real quick? Rivers, mountains, crossings, swamps, all of these, they cannot be touching your 9x9 1 squares, all right? And you can also not touch someone else's fortress. So with that in mind, it can be a little frustrating if you got a tight area and everyone's moved in already and you can't really get there to the front line because your place is a lot farther back, so it takes forever to send reinforcements, that kind of stuff. So that's where the Tactician Fort comes in. All right, so the Tactician Fort is a 4x4 thing, which, by the way, can be set directly next to a friend's place or a river. And just so it so happens that, well, it's not actually touching the river, but I know it doesn't have that restriction. So it's really nice because you can fit it into small areas. Just have to find a 4x4 and you can fit it in. Now, to actually build it, the first thing you have to do is, again, get 4 squares in a circle, 4 1-1 squares. And then you need to click build, and you need to build a fort. Once you build a fort, you have to upgrade that fort all the way to level 6, okay? Then, once you have that, you can build the Tactician Fort. You can see it right here. You build it from, you can only have 1 of them in the game, so it's kind of like a secondary base, okay? I know that you can have up to 20 forts with your ring power, but in this case, it's a secondary base, all right? So when the secondary base is, again, it explains that you need the 4x4, must include a max level fortress. So those 4x4 must have a fort already built and be max level, all right? So then, again, that's this. You build a fort, right? I usually put my little thing of, you know, there we go. My little theme name there. And then once that's built, you have to upgrade it all the way to level 6, right? Max level fort. Then you can click build on top of the fort. Make sure you collect the other 4 tiles around it in some formation. It does not have to be up and to the right. It can be any 4 touching that same 1-1 tile. And again, I could build one right here. Would not be a problem. If I was trying to move my main base, which would be 9, there's like nowhere you could fit it here because there's a mountain. You cannot have it touching a mountain, which means you have to be 1 in from it. But then if I tried to build it here, it would be touching this guy's base. I wouldn't be able to move it. So it's really nice to have that closer Tactician Fort. All right, now with that information out of the way real fast of how to build it, let's talk about it just a little bit. It's not super complicated. It's pretty straightforward. But basically, you have a couple buttons. You can actually upgrade the fort. It increases a few things. Army support, I believe it's just always 6, but I do have it level 2. I don't remember if it went from, I think it just starts at 6, but how many soldiers you can have there and the durability of it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start upgrading it again. And you know what, I have plenty of speed up, so why don't we just speed it up real quick? All right, so I don't think it actually ever changes the amount of like armies you can have. I think it's just always 6 in there because it's like the max level fort, right? If you have a max level fort, you can have 6 commanders. It's kind of the same thing. So that's not really something you even have to worry about. Again, I'm just going to speed this all up because I want to see it. So there we go. Max level, you can get it to level 5. You can have a transport 48,000 troops into it, and durability is pretty good. This is the durability change. I mean, if we compare to other buildings. But now, here we go. You have some information here. You can see we have its total health, normal. We have how many troops it can have, and we also have the commanders in it. Now, it's just like a base or a fort. You just move commanders to it. You all know how to do that. I'm not going to have to explain that. But we also have transport. This is basically where you say view here. Sorry. You go to here with the little plus button after you click it, and you need to click what you want to put into the camp to basically replenish your armies that are there, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to send some depth guardians. I'll send, 1,200 of them. I'll send some rangers. Maybe not rangers. Actually, I don't have anyone there who needs rangers. And I'll send a bunch of guardians. All right. So pretty much you can send a lot. So I'm just going to go ahead and dump in a bunch. And you can see right here what I have in my base, which is almost max of units. I'm removing my garrisoned units there. And you know what? And while I'm at it, I think I'll also send some eagles. All right. So now you're going to click OK. And you will now launch getting the units, but does it? This army is not. Oh, whoops! I have to use a different army to move them. Okay, so be careful of this. And also, that's for transporting. We also have the barracks inside the base, just like you'd have in your main base. Okay, so that's how you'd move to your main base stuff there. But let's go ahead and use a different commander to transport the troops. Let's do someone that's at my base, actually, because I believe they have to start at your base, all right? So let's go ahead and move these guys back real quick. I will use her to transfer troops. All right, we will jump back over to my fort, and then we will say transport, and I will click on her, but now I need some troops, so I will send all of these. All right, I'm just gonna do this, and this, and this, and say okay. And now you can see I can actually click the check mark at the bottom, do a little flip to the other side so you can see that. And now she is going to bring the troops there, all right? So now those troops will be stationed inside the building, and from there, I can get troops back with my armies. Now, granted, I could also always just click the replenish, and they will march over from my main base, but it'll take 7 minutes, but I'll go ahead and do that for that group. You could do the same thing like you would at other places, but... and I believe when you do that, when you replenish your armies, it also doesn't cost, you can speed back to it, but it doesn't actually cost anything to replenish in that way. Insufficient units cannot reinforce. All right, so it's because my units are on their way. I don't have any more of that type of unit, because he has my dwarves in his squadron, so that's why I sent them all here. They're on their way. So once they get there, it should automatically fill, but you can check it like normal once they're there. But that's about it for the Tactician Fort. It's not really too complicated. Hopefully that helped you out. Have a great day in Middle-earth. Thanks to my patrons for their support. And I'll see you in the next quick little guide videos for Rise to War. If you like this stuff, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next episodes of Voice of the Rings.